By the way, I personally do not hold with Susan falling out with Narnia. I don't hold with that. I know it's canon. I know that's how C.S. Lewis wrote her, so that there was an example of what happens when you could be a Narnian but end up going a different direction in your other life and letting that distract you from real Narnian things and morals. But I don't hold with that. I don't think being a true Narnian is the only way to have a coherent and good ethical and moral system. I also don't think that that Susan did anything wrong. Let me see. I think Susan has a mirror in her bedroom, a personal mirror for fussy stuff, because Susan is fussy. But Lucy doesn't have anything in her bedroom that is a mirror. She's all nature and music and candlelight, and is probably not even going to be in her bedroom very often, because Lucy is practically born and raised in Narnia because of the age, the time frame that she was there during the Golden Age. I can't remember if I've talked about this before. Well, I know I've talked about this before, but I think it was during a live stream that got clipped in the middle because of accidental hotkey clicking, which I really need to work on. But in case I haven't, Lucy for me is a true Narnian in a way that Edmund is the next closest, not just because of his age, but also because of some very intense, deep and personal, meaningful experiences that he had there. So in that way, he's a true Narnian. Peter and Susan were older when they went to Narnia in a way that they kept a lot more socialization, a lot more of British school child, England in the 1940s habits and sensibilities. I mean, they were old enough to have started adopting, because they were preteens. I'm pretty sure Peter was 12? 12, 11, 10, and 8? It might have been 8, 9, 11, and 12. I know there's a little gap. They're not all 4 right in a row. And I'm pretty sure Lucy was 8 when she first went in. And that would put all of them in that preteen range, with Peter being maybe 12 or 13. Hey, sweetie. Mercy came to say hello. Go ahead. Such a good girl. Did you eat your breakfast? Go eat your food, please. She's not going to eat. In your bowl. Your breakfast. Okay. I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'll come back and I'll finish telling you about why Lucy is a true Narnian in a way that Peter and Susan are not. It's very subtle, it's little, but I think it's fundamental, and it's just that age gap that makes it possible not to knock Peter or Susan. By the way, I personally do not hold with Susan falling out with Narnia. I don't hold with that. I know it's canon. I know that's how C.S. Lewis wrote her, so that there was an example of what happens when you could be a Narnian, but end up going a different direction in your other life and letting that distract you from real Narnian things and morals. But I don't hold with that. I don't think being a true Narnian is the only way to have a coherent and good ethical and moral system. I also don't think that that Susan did anything wrong in what we know from the books and how the books describe Susan. Susan did what Aslan told her to do. At the end of Caspian, when Aslan tells Peter and Susan that they're not going to come back to Narnia, and he specifically, literally tells them, it is time for you to go live your other life. You need to go and be in your world fully. You're old enough now to need to go establish yourself as adults in that world that you live in, and live those lives. Be those lives, live those lives. And it's kind of the same instructions. It's very similar instructions that Edmund and Susan, or Edmund and Lucy, also eventually receive. But really, technically, if you look at it closely, only Susan actually followed those instructions. The rest of them kind of didn't. I mean, they went and lived their lives, more or less, but they still, gathered together as Narnians and treated each other as Narnians and referred to themselves as, Friends of Narnia was their group, and considered their actions and ethics and morals on the Narnian scale rather than the modern British scale, which is what they were. Oh, go away. I decline that. That might have been someone calling from work. Oh, the hell with it. They can wait. And they still recognize, once a king and queen of Narnia, always a king and queen of Narnia. So I'm not going to be so harsh on still recognizing Peter as the High King, and still recognizing that Edmund and Lucy and Susan were kings and queens of Narnia during the Golden Age. That's cool with me. I honestly don't have a problem with them holding to Narnian morals and recognizing their real nature, their true nature, and deciding their actions and their character based on a Narnian scale. At least for Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, we're given to understand that that's a good, solid way to base your actions and develop your character and judge your morality. Go outside, please. So I don't mind that. But technically, that's not what Aslan told them to do. Aslan told them to reintegrate, to put Narnian things behind them. They're not going back, and to reintegrate with their world, with their world's adult manners and behaviors and character and ethics. And the Narnians really didn't. The only person who did actually put forth a concerted, constant effort to do that was Susan. And yes, I think she took it too far. Yes, I think there were things that were detrimental. I think that it is okay to acknowledge your past and acknowledge past experiences as valid and real and true, and to let them influence who you are and what has changed about you that is unique. You are a unique, wonderful, beautiful person, and part of your uniqueness is that no one else has had the experiences you have had. Even if you and, say, a twin had the exact same childhood, you experienced that childhood from a different perspective, from your perspective, and had your own thoughts and feelings about that childhood than your hypothetical twin did. Your twin experienced it from their perspective. So even in a twin hypothetical where you got the same toys and got the same clothes, you are still having your own experience of those things. And so that's what makes you wonderful and unique. So in Susan's case, I feel like pretending that Narnia, convincing herself, pretending so hard for so long that it was just a game, that it was just their imaginations. She eventually convinces herself that really it was just a game they played in their childhood, a make-believe, a bedtime story that comforted them in a very scary and chaotic time. And that, I think, what was a little too far. That, I think, she lost something valuable when she did that. But as for putting on stockings and wearing makeup and trying to establish a social life, a social sphere, focusing on establishing an adulthood, establishing things that you own, and a sensibility, makeup or clothes, an aesthetic that is yours, that you like and feel comfortable in, that presents you well to other people. That's normal. That's healthy. That's okay to do. You're supposed to use the latter part of your teenage years and early adulthood to do exactly that. To try on things and try things out and experiment with makeup and nail polish and how you want to do or color your hair. That is appropriate. That is what living in this world is like. And especially at the time frame, the late 40s, early 50s, for a developing, as far as we know, cisgender, femme-identified female, developing that was crucial. It was vitally important to what your expectations and realities were going to be for your adulthood. Were you going to marry well? Were you going to be a career woman? Were you going to be a housewife and mother and raise a family? So those are all important things that Susan put herself into. Aslan told her to, and she did when she came back. She threw herself into that and maybe took it too far in certain ways, but she followed Aslan's instructions to the best of her ability in the best way she knew how. And there's no fault in that. I don't hold with people who say that that's faulty or that she was doing something wrong or immoral or unethical or inappropriate or unbecoming of a Narnian. I really don't hold with that at all. I don't agree. Anyway, so that's my thing on Susan. I have not yet, just in case you're going to ask, I have not yet read Neil Gaiman's The Problem with Susan. Part of why I haven't read it is because I have my own developed perspective on it. And while I was still developing that perspective, I didn't want to be unduly influenced by other people who I like. I really, really fangirl Neil Gaiman. And so I didn't want to be overly influenced by his opinions, by the conclusions he had drawn, whatever they may be. So don't get in the comments and in chat and be like, you really need to read Gaiman's Problem with Susan. I have a copy. I've been carrying around a PDF copy of that since high school, since he wrote it. And someday I will enjoy it. Anyway, that has been my perspective on Susan. And that issue I have with C.S. Lewis personally, and with where the series went after it started in Lion Witch the Wardrobe, where it went from there. I have problems with in small ways. There are good things, there are good nuggets, good bits, but there's also highly problematic bits that are issues for me. Okay, for realsies now, I'm going to go take a break and see if the dog has actually eaten her food, and probably get myself a snack as well. I suggest everybody watching do the same. You're beautiful and wonderful and really need to take care of yourself, especially during this time, what is going on in the world. That's going to be a very historical dating reference for the life of this video. Like, what was going on in the world? It's 2020 and the world is on fire, and also there's a plague. So take care of yourselves. Go take a potty break, hydrate, get some water, eat a snack, healthy snack, wash your hands, always wash your hands, and I will be back in a couple minutes, as quick as I can. See you then.